Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to tell you the material about psychology of second language acquisition. In this chapter, approaches to second language acquisition that have been heavily influenced by the field of psychology. They are ordered according to their primary focus of attention. First, that focus on language and the brain, and those that focus on language learning process that are involved in second language acquisition, and finally those that focus on differences among learners. In this acquisition, I would like to tell you the language and the brain. Many people assume that physical basis of language lies in the lips, the tongue, or the ear, but deaf and mute people can also possess language fully. People who have no capacity to use their vocal cords may still be able to comprehend language and use it in written form or gesture form. And human sign language, which is based on visible gesture rather than the creation of sound waves, is an infinitively creative system just like spoken forms of language. But the basis of sign language is not in the hand, just as spoken language is not based in the lips or tongue. Language is brain stuff, not tongue, lip, ear, or hand stuff. The language organ is the mind. More specifically, the language faculty seems to be located in certain areas of the left hemispheric cortex in most healthy adults. For hemispheres, this is the table, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. As we can see, most of left hemisphere are connected to the linguistics, and for the right hemisphere are connected to the movement. Next is language areas in the brain. First one is Broca's area. Paul Pierre Broca, 1861-1865, observed that an area in the left frontal lobe appeared to be responsible for the ability to speak, and noted that an injury to the left side of the brain was much more likely to result in language loss than was injury to the right side. And the Broca's area's function is which helps us to speak, and the area that responsible for language production. The next is Wernicke's area. Language is function of the structure of the human brain, and several brain regions have been identified with linguistic capabilities. Wernicke further identified a nearby area which is adjacent to the part of the cortex that process audio input in Wernicke's area, also being central to language processing. Subsequent research has shown that many more areas of brain are involved in language activity than was thought earlier. Language activity is not localized, but core linguistic processes are typically housed in the left hemisphere. And the function of Wernicke's area is which helps us to understanding language, and the area that responsible for language processing. The next is aphasia. Aphasia is an impairment of language function due to localized brain damage that leads to difficulty in understanding or producing linguistic forms. Specific areas of the left hemisphere are involved in production and processing of particular aspect of language. This primarily from study of patients who have had damage to certain parts of the left hemispheric cortex. Damage to this area produces a condition called aphasia. For example, the person who suffers stroke, those effects can range from mild to severe reduction in ability to use language, which is mean that affect the function of brain and language. First one is Broca's aphasia. Is characterized by a substantially reduced amount of speech, distorted articulation, and slow. Broca's aphasia involves difficulty in speaking. For this reason, it is also known as emissive aphasia. Broca's aphasia can comprehend but have great difficulty replying in any grammatically coherent way. Next is Wernicke's aphasia, the type of language disorder that result in auditory comprehension. Wernicke's aphasia involves difficulty in comprehension, in extracting meaning from context. It is also known as receptive aphasia. So, if the Broca's aphasia is who can understanding the meaning but they have difficulty to replying, and for the Wernicke's aphasia, it is difficult for them to understand. So, the difference between Wernicke's aphasia and Broca's aphasia, for the Broca's aphasia who can understand but they difficult to replying. For the Wernicke's, it is difficult for understand the meaning, but they are able to respond specifically to their interlocutors. And for the conclusion is there are some some aspects of psychology in second language acquisition. One of them there are language and brain. And also there are many psychology aspects which is influence people to produce second language acquisition and how people learn it. People who have no capacity to use their vocal cords may still be able to comprehend language and use it in written or gesture forms. And for human sign language, which is based on visible gesture rather than the creation of sound waves, is an infinitively creative system just like spoken forms of language. However, psychology, learning, and brain had an important role in learning language, especially in second language. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.